Live? I think we live. Here we go. This is All Black Everything, the channel. Appreciate you for checking it out. Love, peace. We're doing an extension of Learn With Me / Pick Up a Book. Hey, this is an extension here. We're going to get into it. Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels. Mm-hmm. There is a hell of a drug on the back. Yeah, it's that custom made. I do not own the rights to this music, but hey, that's bump piece to all the African Ghanaian rappers, you know what I'm saying, and other musicians making that great bomb music. Getting into it. Learn With Me / Pick Up a Book on All Black Everything. Like, subscribe, share it if you like it. Content, you know what I'm saying? We're doing some things, you know what I mean? Just sharing information. It's not my, you know what I'm saying, words or knowledge. It's just knowledge. We need to know if we don't know. Hey, you can't do nothing about it if you don't know. Check it out. We're going to start with the preface by Friedrich Engels. Here we go. The manifesto was published as the platform of the Communist League, a working men's association, first exclusively German, later on international, and under the political conditions of the communists before 1848, unavoidably a secret society. At a Congress of the League held in London in November 1847, Marx and Engels were commissioned to prepare for publication a complete theoretical and practical party program, drawn up in German in January 1848. The manuscript was sent to the printer in London a few weeks before the French Revolution of February 24th. A French translation was brought out in Paris shortly before the insurrection of June 1848. The first English translation by Miss Helen Macfarlane appeared in George Julian Harney's Red Republican, London, 1850. A Danish and Polish edition also had been published. The defeat of the partisan insurrection of June 1848, the first great battle between proletariat, and bourgeois, drove again into the background for a time the social and political aspirations of the European working class. Thenceforth, the struggle for supremacy was again, as it had been before the Revolution of February, solely between different sections of the proprietary class. And these words messing with me today, huh? The working class was reduced to a fight for political elbow room and to the position of extreme wing of the middle class radicals. Wherever independent proletarian movements continued to show signs of life, they were ruthlessly hunted down. Thus, the Prussian police hunted out the Central Board of the Communist League, then located Cologne, then located in Cologne. The members were arrested, and after 18 months imprisonment, they were tried in October 1852. This celebrated Cologne Communist trial lasted from October 4th until November 12th. 7 of the prisoners were sentenced to terms of imprisonment. Let's see here. In a forest varying from 3 to 6 years. Immediately after the sentence, the League was formally dissolved by the remaining members. As to the manifesto, it seemed thenceforth to be doomed to oblivion. When the European working class had recovered sufficient strength for another attack on the ruling class of Europe and America, could not at once proclaim the principles laid down in the manifesto. The International was bound to have the followers of Proud Hun in France, Belgium, Italy, and Spain, and to the Lassalins, in Germany. Marx, who drew up this program to the satisfaction of all parties, entirely trusted to the intellectual development of the working class, which was sure to result from combined action and mutual discussion. The very events and vicissitudes, of the struggle against capital, the defeats even more than the victories, could not even help bring home to the men's minds and the insufficiency, of their various favorite and preparing the way for a more complete insight into the true conditions of the working class emancipation. Marx was right. The International, its breaking up in 1874, left the workers quite different men from what it had found them in 1864. Cold Hunism, in France, Lassalinism in Germany were dying out, and even the conservative English trade unions, though most of them had long since severed their connections with the International, were gradually advancing toward that point at which last year at Swansea, their president could say in their name, continental socialism had lost its terror for us. In fact, the principles of the manifesto had made considerable headway among the working men of all countries. The manifesto itself thus came to the front again. Since 1850, the German text had been reprinted several times in Switzerland, England, and America. In 1872, it was translated into English in New York, where the translation was published in Woodbull and Clapham's Weekly. From the English version, a French one was made in La Socialite of New York. Since then, at least two more English translations, more or less mutilated, have been brought out in America, and one of them has been reprinted in England. The first Russian translation, made by Bakunin, was published at Herzen's Kolokov office in Geneva about 1863. A second one, by the heretic Vera Zasilich, also in Geneva in 1882. A new Danish edition is to be found in the Social Demarquista Bibliothèque Copenhagen, 1885, in French translation in La Socialite, Paris, 1886. From this latter, a Spanish version was prepared and published in Madrid in 1886. Nor counting the German reprints, there had been at least 12 editions. And an Armenian translation, which was then published in Constantinople, some months ago, did not even see the light. I am told because the publisher was afraid of bringing out a book with the name of Marx on it, while the translator declined to call it his own production. Of further translations into other languages, I have heard, but not have seen. Thus, the history of the manifesto reflects to a great extent the history of the modern working class movement, At present, it is undoubtedly the most widespread and the most international production of all socialist literature. The common platform acknowledged by millions of working men from Siberia to California. That's a wide range right there. Let's see. Yet, when it was written, we could not have called it a socialist manifesto. By socialists in 1847 were understood, on one hand, the adherents of the various utopian systems, overnights in England, forest, foresters, foresters in France, both of them already reduced to the position of mere sects and gradually dying out. On the other hand, the most multifarious social quacks, who by all manners of tinkering profess to redress, without any danger to capital and profit, all sorts of social grievances, in both cases meant outside the working class movement and looking rather to the educated class for support. Whatever portion of the working class had become convinced of the insufficiency of mere political revolutions, and had proclaimed the necessity of a total social change, called itself communist. It was a crude, rough-hewn, purely insensitive sort of communism. Still, it touched the cardinal point and was powerful enough among the working class to produce the utopian communists of Quebec in France and of Whitley in Germany. Thus, in 1847, socialism was a middle class movement. Communism, a working class movement. Socialism was on a at least